Okey, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Alhamdulillah bersyukur kita kehadrat Ilahi kerana dengan limpah kurnianya dapat kita bersama-sama pada pagi ini bersama dengan Prof. Dr. Lam Su Shiung, Timbalan Pengarah, Pusat Antarabangsa, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu. Selamat datang, Prof.
Salam.
Ke sesi pagi ini. Baiklah, yang bahagia Prof, Doktor, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan semua, peserta yang mengikuti program pagi ini, kita akan siarkan juga program ini melalui dua saluran. Yang pertama melalui Webex dan yang kedua melalui FB Live di page Pusat Pembangunan Bakat dan Inovasi. Okey, tanpa membuang masa, saya hanya ingin memaklumkan kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan untuk selama 2 jam kita bersama-sama dengan Prof Lam akan mengikuti perkongsian dan ilmu yang akan disampaikan yang bertajuk The Strategies for Writing a Review Article. Okey, baiklah, tanpa melengahkan masa, saya serahkan program ini kepada Prof. Silakan, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Citation. Good morning to everyone. This is Lam here.
Morning.
Glad to see we have such a good response today. So I will do my best to share my experience and also my journey in this writing review articles. First of all, let me share my. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to PPBI, to Suhaiti, and also to Hadila for inviting me to share my experience. Thank you very much. Yeah, so now let me just share my slides. Right. Boleh nampak ke screen saya?
Jelas, Prof.
Nanti
Nampak, Prof.
screen. Thank you. Right, can you all see the slides? Just checking.
Yes, nampak.
All right, lovely. So let's just start then. So yeah, so today I'm going to just basically share the experience, not only my experience and also the experience from my colleagues and also my collaborators in writing a review articles. We've been writing these review articles for, since, in my case, since I started my final year projects. So, we have got some really good tips and hope it can be shared with you all and hope it's useful for you all. So as you can see from the first picture, yeah, so really I have to say publication is really not easy at the beginning, but of course with your building your experience and you're getting better and better, the process, and also it will get easier and easier. This is what my experience told me. So if you look at the pictures, yes, when you want to really get your paper accepted, so you have to go through some obstacles. You can see all those crazy scientists. It seems that they are trying to block you, but to me, in my perspective, is they are just, the person who stand there to, gives us some challenge and to, of course, to let us improve, and in the end, to get our findings and also our research articles, review articles accepted. So let me just carry on. So what I'm going to share today is why we need to write review papers, what's the importance, and what is actually a review paper, and perhaps some tips on how to write a review papers, and then where you are going to submit your papers, and also how to submit, and what are the challenges. Okay, right. So yes, I want to show this is because to me, even now at my stage, I still find submitting a manuscript and getting it published is really, really satisfying. You feel that kind of satisfaction and happiness when you actually see the email from the editor saying that congratulations, your paper has been accepted. Why I say it would be such a very, really good satisfactions is because you know that, like, whether it's a review papers or whether it's a research articles, you need to spend really months on months of efforts to write them. And also not only your efforts, but also your collaborators, your students, you have responsibility for them. So these are all mutual efforts. And in the end, these mutual efforts are recognized, appreciated by, having your paper being accepted. So that's the kind of satisfactions and also even exciting to me. Okay, but having said that, of course, before you get your paper accepted or while you get your papers accepted, you will also get rejections. In my case, I get more rejections than my acceptance. But of course, the acceptance will get, will increase and increase. Okay, but all I've been telling myself and also to my students, my collaborators, is we never give up. Until now, we never give up. We are still in academia. We are still very keen on publishing our papers, whether it's a review papers or research articles. Okay, even I once joined. I once go to attend a conference where it's full of Nobel laureates in Lindau, Germany, and I have personally sought some advice from some Nobel laureates. I asked them, do you publish papers? I asked those Nobel laureates, do you publish papers? And of course, they say yes. And of course, one of the other questions would be, do you get rejected? And surprisingly, at that time, they told me they get rejected. Once every day. So even the Nobel Prize winners also get rejected. So what should I say is never give up, and we should continue to publish our works. Okay. Right, so a little bit of sharing of my background and journey and experience, and which I will share some of the tips that I think are useful from my experience. Okay, so I think being a researcher, being a lecturer, or being in academia, of course, we need to do teaching, we need to do research, and we need to publish our papers. But in order to really improve your chance of publishings, I do urge or encourage, all of you, my fellow colleagues, my fellow researchers, and also the young, especially the young researchers. If you have chance, try to involve yourself in editorial activities. That means like you can start by being reviewer for journals. And when you have reviewed enough articles, you may be invited, or in some cases, you will be invited by the editor-in-chief to join the journals as one of the editorial board members. So even you, you are not invited. Sometimes you can also write a proposal to apply a special issues from the journal editors. Just to have just to have some trainings and experience in editing special issues for the journals. Speaking of this, I'm so grateful to two persons. One is Dr. Touch, Prof. Touch, and one is Prof. Iwan Nudings. They are actually one of the few mentors that actually brought me into these editorial activities. They have given me the chance to involve myself in JSSM, Journal of Sustainability and Science Management. And then from there, I keep on having more experience in editorial role. So why these editorial roles are important is, not imagine, so like for all these journals that I've listed here, they are all the journals that I have regularly published my articles in. So being an editorial board members, whether it's an editors, associate editors, editorial board members, or the guest editors, that gives you the chance to know more about the journal. When we say know more about the journal, that means you know more about what the journal really wants, what kind of the papers that they really want, what kind of the hot topics that they really want, what kind of the requirements that they really want, other than just looking at the guide for authors, but you also know the bits and pieces. Okay, like for example, let's say bioresource technologies, we know that nowadays the hot topic may be towards more on, let's say, one particular kind of bio waste or biomass. Then we know that, if we really want to target these journals, if you are doing research on this particular kind of bio waste, then of course you stand higher chances. And now let's say renewable and sustainable energy transitions, or let's say, let's just pick another journals, let's say environmental research. Now they are looking more on hydrogen productions. Then we know that, oh yeah, if we really have papers, have research on hydrogen research, then of course, yeah, now would be a good time to submit your papers to these journals. So that gives you the chance of knowing more about the journals. Okay, not only about the journals, but also give you an opportunity to know more about, to know the editors, the editor-in-chief, associate editors, editorial board members. So this will also expand your networkings. So in all, that will give you actually a lot of tips and also useful networkings from being an editorial board member. So I strongly recommend you all to really involve yourself. So that's how I grow from publishing as well. Okay. Right. Go for next slide. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. The next is I urge that you all to have to involve yourself or to have or to work together in a research team. In my case, I'm lucky that over the years I have managed to build up a team of researchers. Even if they are just students, I treat them and I respect them as researchers in my research team members. So they are all my research team members. So when you are in the groups, of course, even within the group itself, you can support each other's, especially in, and one of the aspects would be in publishing papers. So let's say before I send my papers or before I submit the papers to the journal, that paper will already be reviewed and revised and edited by at least some of the team members. So these papers will have gone through several, quite many rounds of revisions even before we submit the journals. So everyone in the team member will complement each other's and also help each other. So this is the kind of the environments that actually is very, very conducive in getting your papers publishing in high impact journals. And with respect to review papers, that's also very good because imagine, let's say, if you want to have some master students or even some final year students to write a review papers, it will be quite an impossible job from in my opinion, if you ask that final year students or that master student himself or herself to write their review papers. This is very much impossible to me, but it will be a different story if you have a group of members, let's say 4 or 5 of them working each other to write a review articles. Not only this will speed up the time, but also the quality and the content and the depth of the review articles that you write. So let's say, I have like 3 master students writing a review papers. Okay, so over the process, when they are writing the draft, they will be guided by PhD students and also by postdocs and also by me and also by my collaborators. So having that team can actually really improve the quality and also the speed of writing up your review articles. Okay. Over the years, I've been very lucky. I always believe that we should always work in a team. We shouldn't work alone. So over the years, I've been actively making friends, expanding my networking. So I've been quite lucky that I now have collaborators. I would say friends in all these universities. So this actually gives me a huge enough platform and resources, especially in writing the review articles. Imagine if I want to write a review articles, I can break into several sections and having each sections written by one of my collaborators. So, and then for my collaborators, they will have their own team. Maybe they will assign 1 or 2 students to work together for that sections. So together, this will actually also improve the speed and also the content of your review articles. So building up your networking is very important. Okay, how to build up networkings? I think, the first is always you volunteer yourself. You approach them yourself. Volunteer yourself to involve or to invite them to write a review articles in this context. Okay, right. Not only internationally, locally is also very important. So I've been I'm quite lucky that I've also, have accumulated a group of researchers from different universities in Malaysia to also to write review articles, but not only review papers, but also in research collaborations leading to publication of research articles as well. So I have collaborators, friends in all these universities. So one of our, joint activities or joint efforts would be to write and publish review articles. At the moment, I can say that I have like 3 review articles working with researchers from each of these universities. Drafting the review articles. So it is good to volunteer yourself, to invite others to join and write a review article together, and also especially the research, and also especially to those researchers from Malaysia. So keep making friends. That's good, right? So this is not a slide to share. This is a slide to show that how I have been involving myself in building myself in writing review articles. So these are the review articles that my team, not me, my team have managed to publish over the years. So I finished my PhD in 2012. So at that time, I got the training. I was given opportunities by supervisors to write review articles. So at that time, it's considered as a learning stage. And in 2013, I come back. I'm in the process of developing my research, my labs and everything. I also spent some time to learn and write review articles. So I got 1 paper published. And 14, 15, at that time, I'm trying to build up my research team members. And we do write review articles, but the progress is not that smooth. And at that time, a lot of trial and errors that we are making. So of course, we didn't have any outputs. But things are getting better and better when you have a team, you have a research teams, and you have students that are getting better in writing articles. Then you can see the in terms of the review articles, it increase. So at this moment, 2016 to 2018, I'm focusing on writing review articles by group members within my research teams. Then and also at this time, I'm actively expanding my networkings. So when it gets to 2019, there are 2 things. Because of building enough networkings with good collaborators and everything, and having a research team to work together. So you can see suddenly the review articles that we can publish is become significantly increased. Okay, and also in a way, because 2019 is unfortunately COVID-19 started, and in a way it gives us some more time to stay at home, and also more time for me to work on my research, especially review articles, because you can't do some experimental work. So also give my research team members more time to write review articles. So you can see in 2020, 2021, so we've been publishing a lot on review articles. Okay, so this is my learning process. I hope some of the tips are useful for you. Right. So these are the journals, in my field, that we are lucky to have published our review articles. What I'm trying to highlight is, yes, we have published papers in very, very high impact journals before, but of course, what I would like to highlight is it is basically very, very, very difficult if you want to publish a review articles in such high impact journals. We started from publishing in low impact impact factor journals first. Because at that time we are trying. So I actually started to send my review articles from my research teams to a journal starting with a low impact, and then we get better and better and better. Then we started to target journals with higher and higher impact factors. So over the years, another thing that I'm trying to show you is, practice makes perfect. When you write more, when your team knows how to write and write more, you get more experience. And it is not impossible to publish paper in such high impact journals, especially when you yourself, as a researcher, you know how to write review articles, you have the experience, then you know how to guide your students to write your review papers, and you have a research team with several students that can write the review articles. Then when you have enough good collaborators to work together, then now that will be having all this beneficial features, then you can aim all these high impact journals. So for these journals with impact factors more than 10, I would say that is only possible when I have enough students and also collaborators to work together. Then only we can try, because to publish review articles in all these journals, all these high impact journals, it's not like you spend 2 months to write a review articles, then you can aim it. So I have to be honest that to publish in these high impact journals, I mean, we spend, let's say, for the review papers to publish in these journals, it will take at least 1.5 to 2 years to draft and everything. So it takes time for review articles, right? So one way that I find very useful in writing review article is you yourself, I myself, as a researcher, we have to write. We have to improve our writings. So this is one thing that I once I was mentor, and I received this advice from one of my mentors who actually guides me in writings, which is who is a Prof Christian Zone. So I keep on writing, and I learn to write by with him. And one of the way is you can start writing correspondence letters, and then in our case we write these correspondence and letters, and then we submit to Nature and Science. So it's to me, it's not just about publishing in Science or Nature, but what is more important and what we actually learn more is the process of writing good sentences, impactful sentences, along this process. So I learned a lot from writing with all my international collaborators, and not only just writing. So when you write these papers, you submit this your correspondence, your letters to these journals, right? They will be edited and reviewed, right? So you will get response from them, and then to publish Nature correspondence or Science letters, you have to go through a few process of reviewing. That is the time that you really learn how the editors of Science, how the editors of Natures, how they write good sentences. And that's how I learned to improve my writing. And once I improve my writings from writing the short articles, and then I can share my knowledge and also use the knowledge to guide my students. So that's how my team members are getting better and better in writing review articles. So we never stop writing. We keep on trying to write articles based on the current hot topics, and then we try to submit these journals. So yeah, as you can see for this Nature articles, I'm the first authors. That means I initiate the paper myself and I write, but I was guided by two Danish, who are very good friends of mine, and they guide me a lot in writing. So it just gets better. Even nowadays, I'm still writing together with them. So I want to bring out a message that is, when we talk about writing for review papers, you cannot just rely on your students or your postdocs or your collaborators. You yourself have to write, so you get experience. Then only you know how to guide them. Then only you know the bits and pieces in publishings in high impact journals. Right. So I keep on writing, and of course you get better and better lucks because you have improved your writing. So yeah, we have published in short articles in Science, Natures as well. So yeah, as you can see, and the other thing that I can highlight from here is you need to know what are the hot topics nowadays at this time, at this moment. Then you can write something based on that. Like for these papers, there was a time that Australia, they are having this big wildfire, a lot of wildfire. Then we suddenly think that at that time, koala bear is a favorite, one of the very popular animals in Australia. So we are thinking of, would that actually have a great risk, that wildfire, to to the Kola Bear. Then we dig further. We do some literature reviews, and then we read out, science like it, and then science publish it. Right. So not only I involve as a first authors, I also involve as a co-authors. We write the articles together. Like recently, we for this year, we wrote an articles on European EU because we think that it's getting worse and people are not aware of facing going towards extinction. So we also dig up some literatures, and then we write up this, and even we get a photos of EU by size. So yeah, keep writing yourself. No matter whether it's a short article or long articles, then you will have you will improve. Okay. And yes, now when we talk about review articles, there are different types of review papers that you can write, but I have summarized into different types based on my experience. So you can write long review articles. Okay, long review articles, that means many pages, and it takes a longer time, 1.5 to 2 years to write that review articles. Yes, and as a result, of course, you tend to get higher chance to publish in high impact journals. Like for example, we recently for this year we published in this paper in this journal that I have always dreamed of publishing. Progress in Energy and Combustion Science is one of the best journal in my field. So yeah, it took us a whole this paper actually took us about 2 years to write up that papers before we submit it. And then not talking about, not to mention that we have to spend, let's say you see we submitted May 21st, and then we only accepted January. So it takes about 7 to 8 months for the review process and to finally be accepted. So this is a very long review. I think this review articles is 85 pages. So you can write long review articles, okay? And yeah, we also now, so for this, we have all these papers, review papers published in Chemical Engineering Journal. So this, what I'm trying to highlight is long review articles. Normally, we will have a team of researchers from different universities. So in this case, it's different universities in Malaysia. Like what I said just now, we have a group of researchers who like to, who always write review articles together. So we have somebody from Yi Heng is from Petronas, Dr. Law is also from Petronas, Bridget is from Curtin Universities, and we also have UTP, University Technology Petronas, and also of course me, right? And yes, and this is a papers that is written basically between my research team members, my students, and also some of my international collaborators. So these long review articles, it took us, I think, 8 months to write the review articles. Okay. Other than long review articles, you can write relatively shorter review articles. Okay, shorter review articles, we also have experience like we publish in Bioresource Technologies. Bioresource Technologies doesn't like long review. So you only accept like 50 pages, including the references. So to me, it's considered as a short review articles. So for short review articles, we will spend, let's say, at least 4 to 6 months to write a short review articles and before submissions. So yeah, so we also have experience. So you can consider to give you a good start, you can start by writing a short review articles. Okay, so we have experience in writing short review articles, and just to show you that this is another proof that even it's a short review articles, it doesn't mean that you cannot publish your review articles in good impact journals. So we publish in hazardous material, Journal of Hazardous Materials. So you can write there was a time that we found out that we think that pesticides is neglected, especially chlorpyrifos pesticides neglected. So we wrote a review articles and looking at the prevalence, the remediations, and the actions needed. So it got published in Journal of Hazardous Materials. And another thing that I would like to highlight is I always have if you look at this mushroom review articles, so Wan Adiba now is my postdocs, okay, and we have this Nam Wailun, all these students, they are final year students. So another thing that I would like to say is it is not impossible that It's not an impossible task. You can have your final year students to involve themselves in writing a review articles. You need to guide them, but you cannot have them to write the whole review articles themselves. You can involve them so they get to be trained, they get to be guided by you and also your collaborators, but not asking them to write alone. Okay. And here, yes, Fong Xingyi is currently my master students, and then I have involved, her to write review articles with my collaborators, yeah, and together with Felicia Bernard is my final year students at that times. Yeah, right. So other than short review articles, we also have mini review articles, even shorter than short review articles. It's I would say I think 5 pages. You can write a mini review articles, and yeah, I think especially in UMTs, we have a lot of researchers working on research relevant to environment. So you can write something relevant to environment, and then some mini review articles, and submit. Like I recently saw that I can't remember, maybe I'm not sure it's Dr. Elfie or and the researchers from Faculty of Environment, that they publish review articles on microplastics in size of the total environment as well. That paper was actually handled by my editor friend. Yeah, and then he told me about that. Yeah, so you can write just a mini review articles on microplastics, on this and that issues or hot topics on environment. Then you can submit to good journals as well. Like you see Stoughton, Science of the Total Environment, the impact factor is not bad, it's Q1. Environmental research accepts a wide range of papers with different topics relevant to environment. So you can try, like, we tried this. There was a time that there was an issue on locust outbreak. So we wrote our papers. We have been invited by researchers from China, and then together we wrote the review articles. Okay, right. And other than mini review articles, you can also write on opinion and note. To me, it's like it's a super short mini review to me. Okay, so it's yes, opinion and note, but it's still a review articles in my experience. Okay, so we have published opinions in good journals as well. And you see, Stoughton's, we published this. We think that we wrote a review articles on deforestations. So yeah, so what I'm trying to say is there are all sorts of different types of review articles that you can write. You just need to start your engine and write. You can start by writing short review articles. Okay, right. So over the years, what I found really useful, one of the things that I have been regularly doing is I have been a very active and regular reviewers for especially the journals in my field. I review their papers. Why I want to do that? Okay, there are several things that I think is beneficial from here. One is when I review their papers, I know what this journal wants. I know the requirements, because when I review that, I have to read the papers and then know the bits and pieces, the pros and cons, and in the process, I know better what kind of the articles that the journal wants. So that's one thing. Secondly, I have to be honest here, because when you become a regular reviewers for the journals, the editors will know you. Oh, this Lam is always reviewing papers for my journals. So what do you think when you submit your papers to that journal? Do you think you will get higher chances? You ask yourself. So this is one of the things that I learned from being a reviewer. So you help others, you help the journals by reviewing their papers. So in a way, I'm sure you will get a higher chance, better chance of having your papers accepted by the journals that you review papers for. And not only this, when you have been reviewing journals papers for all these journals, the publishers, when I say publishers like Elsevier's, Taylor's, and Francis, in a way they get to know you. They say, oh, this Lam always review papers for these journals. Is it possible that, or maybe we think it is suitable that he can be appointed as one of the editors for one of our journals? then that's how I get the opportunity of being appointed as editors, associate editors, or editorial board member of the journals. So this is where I started and how I started by being a reviewer. Right. Now we go to why review papers. Okay. There are many advantages and useful and experience from writing review papers. So of course, the first is the typical one when you want to venture into new topics, or when you suddenly have an ideas, you want to do research, you have to do some literature review, right? So of course, in my case, for my team, when they are doing literature reviews, I have already asked them to start writing a review. Instead of just doing literature review, why don't you write a review article on that? So that allows you to improve your knowledge on the topics, the things that you want to know. And when you read more, you write the review. When you read more, you know more, you get confidence. Okay, that means because you know more about the topics. Okay, and of course, for students, it is important that they do literature review, writing review articles, because that contribute to part of their thesis, their master's or PhD thesis. They have the chapter of literature reviews, so might as well they use that literature when they are writing these review articles. When they get it published or something, they can extract part of that review articles, the content of that review articles, and then put in their literature reviews. Okay, this is allowed. Okay, and of course, when you study, you know more about the topics. This actually helps you to design your experiments, the experiments that you want to do for your research topics. So you know the key process parameters, what is the best temperatures, what are the suitable duration that you need to do, what are the factors involved. So this actually helps you to design your experiments. Okay. And another thing is now, because we are in COVID-19, so we have more time, so we can't do too much of our experimental analysis, experimental work. So one of the options is you can use your time to write review articles, maybe several review articles. Okay. And yes, it also improves your skill of summarizing. When you have so many, let's say 10, 20, 50 papers on that topics, you have, when you read these papers, you read a lot, then it makes it better for you to read, to summarize. You know what are the key points, what are the key findings from reading and writing the review articles, and optimize your time. Yeah, because I mean, we have 24 hours. I'm sure we can use like maybe at least half an hour per day to write a review article. So it optimize your time to do something that is useful for your research and also for your study. And also, yes, this is also very important things. Many times that I found that when we are writing a review articles, we get to know more about that topics that are our field, and from there we can identify the gaps, what people have not been studying, what is lacking, and from there we know that, oh, this is something that people have not studied, and which is also very important, which is very novel. And yes, we may have to develop solutions, we may develop design experiments to solve that problems, or and that in turn is transformed into a novelty of our research. So that's the advantages of writing a review articles. Yeah, and another thing that we cannot deny is writing a review articles. It tends to, if you look at this figure, this is the citations that you receive to compare between review articles, research articles, and conference paper. You see, you will generally receive higher citations for review articles compared to research articles. Okay, when we say higher citations, in a way that means there are more people to read your work, to know about you from reading works, to know about your research strengths, know about what research you are doing, to know about your team. So you get more citations because they found some of your findings are useful, so they cite your work. So in general, review articles will get higher citations from research articles. Okay, so just to show you some data, from my experience, so these are the review papers published by my research teams and my collaborators, that I'm involved. So you can see that in general, you receive good numbers of citations from review articles. Like we have one very good example, like this is initiated by one of my master students, Hong Xingying. Yeah, we published in 2020, but look at the number of citations, it's already 116 citations. So when you write review articles and it happens to be a hot topics, many people will read them, and as a result, you will get higher citation. And even if you look at some papers that we have just published in 2021 review articles, it's already, accumulating like 22 citations or 18 citations. So over the years, these are, review articles tend to have higher number of citation, and this happens to other papers as well. You see, if your review papers is really a hot topic, you can get thousands of citations. So that in a way also give you a sense of satisfaction that, oh, you know that people actually read your work, people appreciate, values the findings from your review articles, and then they cite them in a way that I would say you will feel that you have made some contributions to your field. Okay, right. And see, even in different field like civil engineering, review articles can receive a lot of citations. Chemistry, materials, even crazier, I would say. You see higher, thousands and thousands of citations. Biochemistry, genetic, molecular biology, look, you can get so many citations. A lot of people will read your work if you write review articles, right? Physics and astronomy as well. See, so many citations by having from the review articles. Okay. Now, I have to explain a little bit why citation is important. We can see this from several angles. Okay. So one is, yes, of course, in a way, it reflects the impact of your papers, usefulness, whether the findings and the interpretations from your review articles, whether people find useful, and then for that can be, in a way, contribute to their existing research or existing work. So it's an indicator of impacts. And of course, we couldn't deny that nowadays, every universities, they have to, put ranking, the university ranking, as one of the important criteria. So citations per faculty is important. For improving the ranking of the universities. So if one universities have more review papers, in a way, they will get more citations, and in a way that will improve the ranking of the universities. So that is for the university. But to me is in a way that it will also help you to improve you as a researcher, your visibilities. So because your work will be written by a wide audience from all different parts of the world. So in a way, you can build yourself to be internationally recognized or known researchers in your field. And yes, of course, I'm sure, citation is one of the evaluation criteria for promotions if you want to be promoted. But what I'm thinking is what is really contributing and beneficial in my experience is when your papers is highly cited, when you have received a lot of citations, it's actually quite rewarding in terms of like I nowadays receive many invitations of as plenary speakers, keynote speakers, invited speakers to give give lectures on this and that topics. I often receive invitations to write book chapters together, invitations to write more, write joint review articles, and also to be invited from writing grants. Because you know why? Because some people, when they want, some researchers from other parts of the world in overseas, they would like to have international collaborators in their grant applications. So how do they find you? In most of the cases, they may go to Google Scholar, they search about these topics, and then from there they can find you with, oh, you have high citations because of your review articles. That's how they locate you, and then that's how you will get more opportunities, different kinds of opportunities from writing and publishing review papers. Right. So highly cited researchers is also recognized by Clarivate Analytics. So every year, like in our countries or so, there will be an award ceremonies to recognize you as a highly cited researchers. we have a lot of quite highly cited, well-known highly cited researchers in Malaysia, like Prof. Ahmad Fauzi, the Vice Chancellor of UTM. He's one of the highly cited researchers. So yeah, that's another kind of recognitions. Okay, now we go deeper into what is review articles. Let me just take a sip of my things. Okay, what is a review article? So basically, you can review anything, but more importantly, it will be you can review, but please review recent work. Okay, recent work meaning that latest work within the last 5 years, not very outdated work. Okay, and what is review? What do you mean by review? So review includes summarizing the findings, analyze. When we say analyze and evaluate, we means we find out what is good, what is bad, what is lacking, and what needs to be done further. It's not just summarizing and write out what people have found. Okay, and also synthesizing the information. You have to summarize out, list out the key points, the findings from your review articles, and do all this is being will be conducted to papers that have been published, not new papers. Okay, and it must be something that is general and broad with broad interest. Okay, it's not an original work like you do your experiments and then you write out a papers for publish. Review articles is written based on the findings from already published works. Okay, so it's not the original work. Okay, so when you write a review articles, you have to ask yourself, okay, you suddenly think of this topic and that topics that you want to write review articles, right? One thing that you need to always ask yourself, any novelty, is it interesting? Is it new? Am I going to bring up new findings from my review articles? That is very important. Okay, and also the breadth of the resources, the coverage of the resources, the amount of the resources that you have to write these review articles. Okay, and also the depth and the quality of the resources, whether the papers that you refer to in writing your review articles, are they from good quality, good journals, not some dodgy journals? Okay, and whether it's current. Okay, whether that topic that you want to write your review articles, is it current? That current is very important. Latest, it has. It is interesting to the current audience. Okay, and whether it is relevant. Okay, ask yourself whether it's relevant to what we want to know at the moment. Okay, and also clarity and brevity. Review articles, because you tend to write a lot, so in a way you have to write clear, and brevity meaning short and precise. Okay, don't write long paragraphs. Okay, and whether your review articles involves critical analysis of the papers that you have cited. Okay, and whether you have synthesized them into good section headings in the different topics in your review articles, and it helps you to discover area where research needed. So when we mention this, that means in a way, in your review articles, you always have to write out a section or bring up some findings that shows that what are the future research that is needed based on the findings from your review articles. You need to write them out. Okay, and how to write review articles. Okay, so yes, nowadays we know that we being a researchers, we being a supervisors, we being academicians, we know that students, everyone has to do literature review. Okay, what is a literature review? Okay, so of course you need to identify your topic area, the topics that you want to write, and then you need to describe them. Okay, supported with references. Okay, whether it's your own papers or other papers. Okay, but not only describing them, you need to summarize them, you need to discuss them, and also do critical analysis. I've seen a lot of the review papers are only covering description. This paper mentioned this, that paper mentioned it, without having any good discussion or good analysis of of those papers. So that is not good. So review papers, literature reviews, you have to contain these two elements. Okay. Right. So the structure of a review articles, it can be very broad. So I have, so these are the sections that you can have in your review articles. You can have title, abstract, all this. Okay. So the best thing is to refer to the journals that you want to target and look at the guide for authors and see whether they have a specific structures for the review papers submitting to that journals, and then you follow them. But these are the general structures for review papers. Okay, and you may have questions: how many pages I have to write for my review papers? How many references? Okay, I would say go to the journal that you want to target. Some journal, they will tell you how many pages. Let's say for bioresource technologies, a journal that I regularly submit my papers, they can, for review articles, it cannot be exceeded 50 pages. And references cannot be more than 150 references. So some journals, they do have limitations or requirements on how many pages and references. So look at the journal that you want to target for your review papers. Okay. And also, how do you know the structure of review articles? Again, my strategy and also the strategies by most of my collaborators is we will look at the journals that we want to target. Okay. We go to that journal. We want to submit our review papers to that journal. If we are interested in that journal, we will download a few of the latest review articles published in that journal. We download, we read them, we will see what kind of the structures that they use, whether they have a literature review section, whether they have let's say for review articles, normally we don't have a methodology section, right? But some review papers, some journals, they want you to have a methodology section. So you look at the latest papers from that journal, then you know. Easy. Okay? Step by step. Okay. So review paper is a process. Okay, to simplify, yes, of course, you identify the topic that you want to write. Then you list out the keywords. You list out first. You list out the keywords. Okay, the topics, the sections that you want to write your review articles. Then, of course, you go to Google Scholars, you go to Science Direct, you go to Scopus, you go to Web of Science to search out, to narrow down the relevant articles that you want to use them, to refer them, to write your review articles. Then you study them, you learn, and then you write. This is simple, but to me, it still sounds very abstract, right? Okay. So yeah, you can go a bit further. Let's say there are some papers that teach you on a step-by-step guide to conduct a systematic reviewer. For those of you, if you are really interested in going deeper, you can study. But to me, it's good to just look at these 4 points. So first of all, identify your research questions, okay, and then your scope, okay. The research question is, okay, you know that you suddenly have this idea, this question, then you think you want to write a review articles based on that question. Come up the title of your review articles. Then the scope. What I mean the scope is the table of content. Okay, to answer that questions, based on that review, the title of that review that I want to write, what are the scope, what are the sections, the table of content. Okay. Then define your terminology, your keywords. List out the keywords that are relevant to your review articles. Okay. Then find out. The first step can always involve finding out the existing review on that topic. Has anybody has written review articles on that topic? You find out first, then you study first, and that will also allows you to judge whether it is worth for you to write that review articles. Okay. So reading existing review articles that are relevant to the topics that you want to write review first. Okay. And then from there, if you think, yeah, I think, yes, out of the reviews articles that have been written, there's no review articles on the topics, the actual topics that I want to write, the title that I want to write. Then you go deeper, you find out more papers that is relevant, and then so that you can identify the gaps. Okay, the gaps, and the pros and the pros and cons, and you keep on writing your review articles, okay, so that you are not duplicating the efforts of review articles. What is worry is you didn't study the existing review articles of your topics, and then you have written out a review articles that is basically similar to the review articles that have been published. That will be a nightmare to you. It's very difficult for you to publish that. So it is always important to write a review articles that you do not duplicate, will repeat what has been reviewed by other review papers. Okay. Yeah, and recently, Dr. Ma has kindly, thanks to Dr. Ma, who has kindly shared with me on how to start writing a review articles, which I find very useful. So I asked the courtesy from her to share these slides. So yes, you select a topic, and that topic, importantly, it has to be a hot topic, not a topic that nobody wants to know about that, okay? Or only you want to know about that. It has to be a hot topic. Then you search the literatures, find out the relevant papers, okay? Develop the arguments. Well, what are the important things? What are the arguments that you really want to analyze, and write a review on that? And survey the literatures, and survey literatures, meaning that out of the papers that you have downloaded, shortlisted, you study them, not just survey, you study them, and then find out the bits and pieces, criticize them. What are the critics? What are the pros and cons? Then you write the review articles along the process. Okay. So some problems that we often see in writing review papers, especially by students and also by some researchers. When I say some researchers, because I'm currently an editor and associate editors for some journals. So I've been handling a review papers submitted to this and that journals. So I can see these are some of the things that would make your review papers being rejected, or not in the good qualities. Students, students nowadays tends to do listing rather than synthesizing the research background. When they are writing a review articles, what they have been doing is they always say, okay, they read this paper, and then they say, oh, this papers, they look at the abstract or something, and then they say, oh, this study found this study found that, that's it. Then they find out, let's say 20 papers, from each paper they say this study found that study found that. Then after that, it's already a review papers. That's not the review papers. Okay. So other than just saying that this study found this study found that, you should synthesize and also critically reappraise the work published on that topic. Synthesize, you have to not only you say this study found this study found that, you can also say out of these studies it was reviewed that, or this has not been found, or this is needed, and this is good, this is bad. That's what I mean, synthesize and also reappraise. And yes, some review papers, when they write, they just write in many paragraphs without having sections or headings or subheadings. That's not good. Okay, so you need to have subheadings for your review papers. Oh yeah, and this is a very common thing. Nowadays students, perhaps because of their lack of experience, and so some of them may copy and paste. So nowadays it is very easily for the editors, even for the supervisors, to trace whether you plagiarize others' works or you copy and paste. Okay, we have the softwares like Authenticate and Turnitin to check what is the similarity index of your papers. Okay, so don't plagiarize. Okay, when you read this paper and that papers, and then you get some, you want to write some key findings from that papers and these papers in your review papers, you please rewrite the sentences. Don't just copy and paste the sentences. Okay, so the similarity index 5 to 8% is very good. Okay, I would suggest the similarity index for review papers should be overall less than 15%. That means from your Authenticate report or from your Turnitin reports, the overall similarity index percentage should be less than 15%. Okay, And yes, they don't use enough, they don't find enough papers for them to write review papers. So you should have enough papers and weak arguments. Instead, you should write sentences to show evidence to support your statement, what you have written with evidence, okay? Give good examples, write out the key points, okay? And some of the things written in review papers nowadays, even I see from my students, are not right. It's simply not right to say that, to write that. So in this case, we as a supervisors, we have to double check everything to see whether it is right or wrong. And listing, avoid long and boring lists. I mean, one of the problems is students find not enough papers to write review articles. But another problem is they find too many papers to write the review articles. While some of the papers are actually irrelevant. So for those irrelevant papers, you should not quote or cite the findings in your review articles. Okay. Right, and a good sharing by Dr. Ma Ling is you can start by drafting doing some mind mappings to identify the topics and also the scope of your review articles. Like you can, let's say, I'll just pick these examples. We have together written a review articles on baby diapers. Okay, we want to know, okay, nowadays, because we are parents, we have bought diapers for our kids. So that gave us an idea of, has anybody been researching on treatment and recycling of baby diapers? So yeah, it could be interesting to write a review articles on that diaper. So now you can write diapers as the things, the review that you want to write. So you come out the scope. What are the types of diapers, market value, the life cycles, the current technologies, the challenges. So these are what I mean, the scope and the topics that the scope of your review articles. You have to make these things right first. Okay, right. So try to narrow down, arrange your idea from general to specific. Okay, so in order for you to answer your questions, what I mean is when you write your review articles, you will have paragraphs, right? So in terms of structuring your paragraph, you should write a paragraph that highlight the general point first. Okay, then only you go to specific points, narrow down into all these to answer your research questions. From writing from general to specific this is what I mean. Okay, so examples, right? This is the review articles that we have published together. Okay, this is highlighted because we want to show you that these two students are actually final year students, so it is possible to have final year students to write review articles, but not alone. They have to work together with others. So you can go and, let's say, if you want to write a review articles on diapers, you need to go to Science Direct, go to Scopus to search the relevant review articles first. Okay, and these are the contents that you can. Before we write the review articles, we will have discussed. We will have leased out, discussed, and finalize the scope of our review articles. These are what I mean the scope, or you can interpret it as the table of content. Oh, we want to write out the introductions. We want to write out, okay, in diaper industry, what is the development and progress, and what kind of the diaper, blah 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 blah, and what is the current disposal method or recycling methods for diapers. You have landfill, incineration, recycling, and the recent technology. These are the old methods. What are the recent technologies? Oh, people have been doing biodegradations of diapers using thermal methods. And what are the new challenges? What has not been solved in recycling diapers? Then go to your conclusion. So once we have finalized this scope, then only we will assign, or among each others, or who is going to write this section, who is going to write that section. Then we write. Then after that we compile and improve the flow. Okay. So how to get your materials, the papers that you want to write your review articles? You can just go to Google Scholar, type, now you want to know about the progress, what people have been doing for baby diapers. You just type baby diapers, blah, all the relevant features come out. Then you can have a look, okay? Or you can go to Web of Science to search out the relevant papers on to diapers. Just type baby diapers. You have 299 results. Okay, then that could be too broad for you. Now, let's say if you want to know a bit on baby diapers, relevant to, you want to narrow the research to baby diaper treatment, then you add another treatment methods, you can go there. And then if you want to narrow down according to the journals that you want to refer to, because like I said just now, you have to use papers, refer to papers that are from acceptable or good quality journals. So you can just narrow down or limit it to papers from some of the journals that are relevant in your field, or they are good journals that you know of. Then you click, then you will come out on the number of the papers that are relevant. Okay, and you can also go to Web of Science. There you see, like, you type baby diapers, and then you can see what are the journals. This is how we find out the papers that we want to write review articles. Okay, so let's say for this short review articles on locus, just want to show you that, okay, we started by going to the Web of Science to find out locus. We type locus outbreak. Then it will come out 190 references, and from there we still think that 190 papers is too many papers to refer. That could be too much. Okay, so we narrow down. We go to going to biological control. We want to know more about how we can use biological methods to control the locust outbreak. So we narrowed out. We just click this biological control into this refined result. So yes, you see, oh, there are only 12 papers. Just we want to have biological control of locust as one of our sections. So we narrow down by refining the results by clicking, inserting the biological control into here. So it narrowed down, only 12 papers that are relevant to biological control of locust outbreak. So based on these 12 papers, we will refer to them, we will study them, and then use the findings, write out sentences in our review articles for these sections. Okay, right. And yes, content of the review papers, you can have generally you can have title, author page, maybe the name of the authors, the affiliation of the authors, and abstracts. Okay, abstracts you can 200 to 300 words actually. Okay, you don't write too long abstracts. You have keywords and you have main text. You have introduction. In the main text, you have introduction, subheading, conclusions, and acknowledgements, and references. Okay, right. Title. Let's go a bit. Deep detail into each one of them. Okay, so titles. Sorry. Let me just move this window away. Right, it's blocking my slide. Just a second. Okay, so title. So title is very, very important, okay, for review articles. It tells the paper, the readers, what your paper is about. Okay, what is more important is your title it has to be short. Okay, remember, write a short title rather than a long titles. But it has to be really relevant to the subject matters that you want to write. Okay, and not only it has to be short, it has to be attractive. So when you write out your title, then you ask yourself again, is this attractive? Will it actually be interest to the community or the audience? Okay, and it cannot be too narrow. Okay, it cannot be too narrow. So it has to, can we have the organizer to mute mute the participants? Thank you. Right, and it has to be broad for larger audience. When you ask yourself, is this title short? Is it precise? Is it interesting? Then also you need to know, does a lot of people want to know about this topic? It cannot be too narrow. Okay, And don't use abbreviations and jargons. Don't use short forms, short words. Okay, other people or amateurs do not know what you are talking about. So this is very important for title. Okay, examples of good titles. I mean, I've shared some of the titles that I think is good from my from my review papers. So I always like to use the word progress. Okay, progress means what is the updates, what is the status, what is the current status. Okay, so in waste valorization using advanced pyrolysis technique for this. So to me, it's short, not too long. So I want to talk about valorization of the waste using only advanced pyrolysis techniques and only focusing on hydrogen and gaseous fuel productions. It's very short. So another one is, yes, I want to talk about, I work a lot on microwave and pyrolysis. So I want to write something, a review on what's happening of using microwave pyrolysis to convert agricultural waste into value-added biofuel, only to biofuel. And I want to talk about batch to continuous approach, from batch systems to continuous systems. And this is, I would say, a good title as well. We want to know, we want to write a review on oyster mushroom. Okay, we want to know whether people have been, doing anything on maximizing the value of oyster mushroom. So we talk about valorization of oyster mushroom and the waste generated. We want to know what are the waste generated in mushroom cultivation industry. That's it. Okay. Emerging contaminants and biological effects in Arctic wildlife. We want to know what happens to the animals in the Arctic and what are the contaminants and biological effects. So, and this is very simple, machine learning technology in bioresearch research. We want to know, nowadays we talk about big data, we talk about machine learning. So what about the application of machine learning in bioresearch research? So short titles is what I recommended. Okay, and you can have authors' names and affiliations. Okay, and yeah, make sure you have listed your name correctly, and then also your affiliations. Put your affiliations correctly, your emails. Okay, and then the abstracts. Okay, abstract is very important. Okay, you know that, I mean, nowadays being an editor, I'm being an editor for some journals. Sometimes before we even look further into your content, your review, we will just look at the title and also your abstract first. If it is not good, we may just reject the papers. So speaking of this, writing a good abstract is very, very important. Okay, so the abstract should be short and precise. Short and precise meaning not too long, and tell people what investigation, what review you have written, okay, and what are the key conclusions. And yes, writing out these what you have done and what is your conclusion is important. But are those sentences that you write, are they catchy? Are they interesting? Is the conclusion interesting enough? So this is another effort that you have to put in writing a good abstract, and it is the summary of the work. One thing very important is don't write long abstracts. 200 to 300 words is good enough. Okay, make sure you write a short abstract. So I have given some examples on how we have written our abstract in our papers. Let's say you want to talk about, just now we want to talk about using a process, a technique to recycle agricultural waste into biofuel. So we will split our abstracts into these categories. We will write up sentences that talk about the background, talk about the objective, and what are the methods that we use, okay, and the main findings and conclusions. So to me, it is good that your abstract of the review articles that you want to write have all these elements. So you can work out based on your review articles. So it is, in many cases, when I look at the review articles, sometimes they only cover in their abstract background, objective, and methods. They don't have conclusion and main findings, which to me, it is value added. It is more interesting if you also tell people the main findings and the conclusion in your review articles. Okay, like we have this conclusion, we think that, oh, from our review articles, we think that we should do this process, this conversion of agricultural waste into biofuel in a continuous operations. Okay, because from our reviews, it shows that it is sustainable, low carbon footprint. Okay, and then so with all this and that. Okay, right. So you can use this example as a guide for you to write your review articles. And keywords. Okay, keywords is also very important. Keywords, why I say it's important is keywords are important for the readers, for all the people around this world to find your review articles, to read them, and then to cite your review articles. So we always spend efforts in identifying the good, the key, the important keywords. Okay, it should reflect the subject matter of your manuscript. Okay, like what your title. So in some cases, you may use some of the words in your titles as your keywords. Okay, but make sure you know that these keywords is easier for people to the word that people will always search, type in the Google, in Yahoo to find out your papers, so that they can read your papers. Okay, and not too many keywords, not more than 5. Okay, and avoid using abbreviation unless it's a very common abbreviations like DNA. Okay, and then another part is very important is the introductions. Okay, introductions, always spend your efforts to write an interesting introductions. Get the reader's attention by, let's say, by looking at the first paragraph or your introductions. Oh, people already find interesting. Oh, I want to know a bit further. Okay, so it's important. And also always give citation. Don't just claim everything as your work. Okay, review paper is actually reading and then listing out and also summarizing the findings from other papers. So of course, one of the important elements would be to cite, to give the appropriate citations, to give credits to other works. For example, for these presentation slides that I share with you, I have to say thanks to Prof. Saidur Rahman. I learned a lot from on writing review articles, from reading his presentations, reading his YouTube videos. So thanks to them, and it helps me to prepare all these slides to share the knowledge with you. And also Dr. Mayok Ling as well. I guess I'm using some of the slides to share some useful tips with you. An introduction is provide a context to tell others why your work is important, why you want to write this review article. So you need to, when you write the sentences and the paragraphs for your review for your introductions of your review articles, after you have written it, you have to read it again and ask yourself, did you write out the interesting sentences, the sentence that shows the interesting part of your review articles that can actually attract the interest? Okay, so in general, you can have brief statement of the need of the investigation, why you want to perform this review, why you want to write this review. Okay, review of the up-to-date literatures. You show in your introductions that the papers that you have cited is latest within the last 5 years, and what is the objective of your review. Those are the parts that shows whether your review articles is interesting, is relevant or not. Okay, and this section should reflect the new contents of the review. Like I said, the novelty of your review. What is the new thing? What is yet to be discovered? What you want to bring out from your review articles? Okay, and yes, or your chance to convince the readers the importance of you. What is the importance of your work? Write it out in the introductions or your review articles. And what is that includes the problems. What are the problem statements in your review articles? What is the hot issue? Write it out, okay? And what are the existing solutions? And what is the main limitations? And from there, that's why you want to write a review to find out the gaps of the problems. What is the novelty of your work? Okay? And cite your original and important works, okay, less than 10 years, but I would urge you to write a review to use citation more, to cite more on the last 5 years, the articles that is published that are published in the last 5 years. Okay, and yes, don't cite any irrelevant references that will just undermine or degrade the value of your review articles. Okay, so introductions, we need to write it in an interesting way. So one way is to not write it in a very long introductions. Okay, avoid being too long and avoid being too general. People don't know what you actually want to write in your for your review articles, and no objectives. So, but speaking of this, it is important that you write out the objective of your review articles. Okay, and not focus, so people don't know what in what are the focus point, what is the things that are very important to be reviewed from your review articles, what is the novelty, and whether you use the latest and relevant literatures. Okay, so how to generate new ideas? So in my case is I read more, and of course I think more, and I keep myself updated with the hot topics in my field of interest. That's how you get this new idea to write a review articles, and also to do new research. Okay, write more as well. Keep on. When you, I find it very useful is when I'm writing. Sometimes when I write, that's where I get my ideas when I'm writing. Okay, right. And avoid being too lengthy and too long of your review article. So like Nash PhD thesis is only 27 pages long, so you get in a Nobel Prize. So you can start by writing on short review articles. Okay, so example, okay, now I'm giving you an example. I'm sharing one of the example that how can you bring out the novelty of your review articles. Okay, so this is how some authors very nicely bring out the novelty. So they say, okay, now they have looked at the existing literatures. They know that the authors have briefly discussed the various theses. However, you see the word they use the word however, only a few technologies were introduced, and the focus of the existing paper was on this. Okay, and in previous papers, the authors only present an overview for this. Then they say, however, these papers only look at this and that. Okay, then this is a very important paragraph. Unlike the above mentioned review articles, this paper, provides a comprehensive review of this and this. And the objective is to improve the performance of this. This is how you write your introductions in an interesting and catchy ways. Okay, so this is a very good example that you can try to refer and then use it to write up your introductions. Sources of literatures, you can go to all this. Science Direct, Springer's, it depends on you. But I think nowadays, for my students, they use a lot of Science Direct, Scopus. They sometimes go to Taylor and Francis to look at the relevant journals as well. So it's up to you. You know where. I think you know better what literatures, what kind of search engines that you can get the relevant articles from. Okay, now we talk about the main body. Okay, the main bodies, how much you need to write depends on your expertise and of course your experience. But what more importantly, I would say, like I said just now, go to the journal that you want to target and look at their review articles. Then you will know how much you need to write, how much content you need to write for your main bodies. Okay, so a review papers can be as short as 4 to 6 pages with only 5 to 10 references. That refers to the mini review articles that I have mentioned you previously. So I do have experience in writing mini review papers, opinions. Okay, but it can also be up to 100 pages with 3 to 500 references. And I also have experience in this, like we published in the Progress in Energy and Combustion Science. We nearly write about 100 pages. Okay. And it is quite easy to publish in some journal. You'd be surprising that sometimes you have written out these review articles. It's very, when you submit to this journal, they don't like it. They think, no, not good. But when you submit to another journal, it can get easily accepted. So that's why I say it depends on the journals that you want to target. Okay. So some journals are difficult, some journals are easy. Okay. And very important that, when you write your review articles, always list out the table of content in your review articles. Okay. So the editors, the reviewers can judge the flow, the overall structures of your review articles. So it is very important because often in some cases, like where my student drafted a review article sent to me, they don't put the table of content inside. So I cannot see whether the scope or what are the scope that they have been reading. So I already forgot the scope. So it's good that you always have this table of content in your review articles as a guide for the reviewers and also the editors and also for the readers. Okay, so now we talk about the important figures and tables or the features in critical review. This is very important. You want to produce a good quality review papers. This is what I found that these are the important elements that you need to have in your main body of your review articles. You see, you will have this kind of a figure, different dots plot, and each of the dots, it comes from the findings from different papers. It is very important that you have these kind of figures that shows the depth, the thoroughness, how much details and efforts you have put in reading different papers. Then you plot this graph. This is not a graph that you copy and paste from somewhere. It's actually plotted from you reading all these papers. You find out the important data, then you plot the graph yourself and present it in your review articles. Okay, so having this kind of this kind of figures in your review papers, it adds points significantly to the quality of your review articles. You can also have this kind of graph line. You see they plot the line chart, okay, and then each of these line chart, the circle, they are from different papers, different literatures, okay. These are from one of my review papers. Nowadays, you may choose to do bibliometric analysis. So this is like one of the figures that you can plot from your bibliometric analysis that shows that, what are the hot topic or what are the key topics in your field of interest. Then you can plot this, and then from there it shows that, these figures is actually plotted from 150 papers, bibliometric analysis of 100 papers, and we found out that indoor air pollution and particulate matters are the hot topics nowadays, something like that. Okay, and you can have plotted this kind of a figure. This is also from one of the review papers that I joined together. See, from 2009 until 2020. In 2009, what kind of research that has been done? So this shows the progress. In this case, we wrote about microbial desalination cell technology. So each year, what kind of the paper have been produced and what is the status? This is a way of presenting a review figures and interesting figures for your review papers. Okay, this is another example. We still talk about microbial desalination cell technologies. You can see, okay, we found out that we have different types of parameters or different key aspects of this desalination cell technologies and the number of articles. So this actually shows that, for desalination cell technology, reactor configurations are the most important, or are the important aspect that is being covered at the moment, while less studies has been or focused on this desalination application. And from 2009 to 2020, how many papers, relevant papers on MDC, microbial desalination cell, has been written? So this shows the depth of your review. I hope you understand. Okay, right. Another example, you can have all this charts that shows that from 2000 to 2018, how many articles, how many patents, what is the crude oil price, the Brent crude oil price, Dubai crude oil price. These figures is plotted from many papers that we have referred. Then we plot out these figures. So these are the useful figures that you can consider having in your review articles. Okay, that's for figures, right? Now we go for tables. So this is also from one of the review articles that we have published. So you can see we want to show a table that shows the use of solar energy or solar heating for pyrolysis to produce gaseous fuel. So these are the different type of feedstock that they use. They subjected to solar pyrolysis, and the important parameters: temperature, heating rate. These are the temperature, heating rate, the reactor type, the gas yield, the references. These are the kind of important tables that I would urge you to have, that shows how you really have studied the many recent papers relevant to the topic of the review articles that you want to write. Key findings on fractionation and extraction. Key findings. Okay. What are the key findings? What kind of the method that have been used, the feedstocks, and the parameters, the conditions, and important thing is this observation. What are the key findings? Observations. So these kind of the tables are very important. I mean, feel free to, I can share these slides with you later, so you can refer to all these tables and figures and then use it for writing your review articles. Okay, so those are the main body. Now we go to conclusion. Conclusion is also very important because this is also one of the sections that editors of the journals will look at them. They want to see whether your review actually bring out some important findings that you have mentioned in the conclusion. Okay, so a conclusion needs to be short and precise. Okay, and only the very important points. Please only mention. Sometimes I see that the conclusion is very long, not recommended in my opinion. Okay, only presented the most important points and the concrete achievement, the findings from your review, okay, and whether you have achieved your objective. Okay, these are the things that you can write in your conclusions. Okay, and I like to write a short conclusions. So write a very clear take-home messages. Okay, sorry about the typo. Less than 100 words is good enough. Okay, and in line with the objective of your works, and do not repeat the things that you have mentioned in your abstracts, or just list out the results. Okay, so you need to have a good justification of your work. Okay, and also in some cases suggest the future experiments that you need to do, or that is in process. Okay, to give you an example as well, I have put one of the conclusions that I think is useful, is good from my existing review, from my review papers. Okay, so you see, we only write very short. We only show that these reviews, what we have written in this review is we present different new pyrolysis technologies to produce hydrogen and gaseous fuel. Okay, and we found that the current technology and feedstock in the literatures, there are only six types of new pyrolysis technologies. And the key parameters we have listed out. Okay, what are the key parameters? This reaction temperature, flow rate, and feedstock size. Okay, and we have discussed the challenge and the future direction. The challenge and the future directions on emphasis on improving the yield and quality of the products that we obtain. Short. Okay, I prefer short. Okay, acknowledgement is also important, is to give credit. I see that some review articles, they don't have acknowledgements, but I would suggest you put the acknowledgement here, because I'm sure you have somebody or some organizations that you want to say thanks for. That helps in writing out this review article. So there could be some collaborators, some friends that will have proofread your articles, but his or her contribution is not enough to be justified him as one of the co-authors. Then you can say thanks to him in these acknowledgements. And you may have some lab technicians to help you with some doing some bibliographic analysis of your works that you would like to say thanks. So it's good to have acknowledgement sections. Okay. And yes, content similarity. It's very important that when you finish writing your review articles, especially before you submit your review articles, please run some plagiarism checks. Send it to Turnitin or send it to Authenticate and check for the similarity. Make sure the similarity is not high, okay, less than 15% if you ask me. And also copyright issues. There could be some cases where your review articles, you want to use the figures or tables that have been published in some papers. In that case, you need to get copyright permission. So make sure you get that, okay? And yes, it's good to use some referencing software in writing your review articles like EndNote or Mendeley, because you tend to have more references in when you are writing. You need to use and cite a lot of references in your review articles. Okay, now where to publish? Okay, to me, when I ask myself, when we want to think about where to publish, one of the important element is the time that we will consider. How fast, or whether it's long, or how much time it's going to take for us to publish the papers, for the journal to handle, not saying to publish, for the journal to handle our paper. We need to know that, okay? And also where to publish. So in my case, if for my team, before we even write a review articles, we have already identified which journal, ABC, that we want to target. And when we want, in the process of identifying these three journals, we have already looked at the time that it will take normally for this and that journal to handle the manuscripts. Okay, so, and of course, impact factors are another thing that we will consider. Given the opportunity, we will want our review articles to publish in a journal with a good impact factors, because in a way that we will have more people to read our work and cite our work. Okay, so we tend to, when we submit our papers, we tend to send to a journal at least with some impact factors. Okay, so, and of course it's always our target and also our dream by my research team to try to target some of the top journals in my in this world, especially the top journal in my field. So we always try and challenge ourselves by writing review articles and send to these journals in my field, which we have so far lucky in publishing or in these journals. Okay, so how do you find out this information, the journals? Okay, let's say if you want to know about the quality of the journal that you want to target. Let's say you know about this journal. Now you just key in the name of the journal in Web of Science, and then it will come up a list. Then you can just click on the name of the journal. Then you will come up this. So it shows the impact factor of the journal, and also nowadays we also talk about whether this journal is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So you can know the Q ranking, the quartile ranking of this journal, and you know the rank in this category. So this helps you to know the quality of the journal that you want to target. Okay, and we also look at the time. Okay, for a journal to process an article. So let's say just give you an example. Look at this journal. This author submit this paper in 2009 March, only accepted in April. So this is very fast. So yeah, we want fast journals, fast handling journals. Okay, and this one, March 12, 2010, accepted November. So it takes about 11 minus 3, takes about 8 months for the journal to handle. So this is a way for us to judge the time that it takes for the journal to handle, whether you have the time to wait, because you know that sometimes you have students, you have grants that you need to publish papers to meet as one of the KPIs. So you need to be aware of the time that you have. Okay, this is one of the papers that we published in Bioresource Technology Journal, just to give you an idea. We submitted in August, okay, and accepted in October. So it's very efficient, I would say, the journal. We submit and it takes only about 1.5 months, okay, about 1.5 months to publish. So this shows that the journal has a very good and efficient editorial teams to handle your journal. So of course, given the opportunity, we would want to submit our papers to this journal because it's very fast in handling, okay, right. And our locus papers, we submit in June, revised and accepted in August. So it's also 1.5 months. So that's, I would say, very good. The journal Environmental Research, you can consider them, right? Okay, now size of the total round. We submit the paper in June, okay? Accepted in June. Is it efficient? So you judge yourself. Then, of course, you can consider this journal. This is how we judge. We will go to this. We will go to this journal that we want to target. We go to that journal's webpage. We look at some of the latest papers published by that journal, and then we will look at this: received, revised when, accepted when. Then we know whether the current editorial team is efficient in handling this journal. Okay. So where to publish? Of course, look at the publication history. You can check with your supervisors. If you are students, you are not sure, you can ask your supervisor or go to check your supervisor's CV and see what kind of which journals he published. That could give you an idea. And I mean, in my group, I tend to publish in a diverse group of journals, meaning that we publish journals in our field. But in our field, we have let's say 10 or 15 journals in our field. We will not just try 1 or 2 journals. We will try many of the journals within the same field of interest. Okay, some journals. Okay, you need to know that. I mean, with experience, some journals they have this kind of strategies that you submit paper to them, they will initially reject and ask you to resubmit. They say your paper is not good. Lack of quality. If you can improve again, then you resubmit. If you want to resubmit, and then we will consider your resubmission. Okay, to some people, when they receive this initial rejection, they will just try other journal. They feel disheartened. But you need to know that some of the journal, this is their strategy. So you just revise, you resubmit, then you will go into reviews. So you need to know that by experience. Okay. So some journals allow submissions and process for review. This is normal. Okay. And yes, I mean, just one tip here, always invite international experts, your collaborators in overseas to make the chances higher. And this is very important. Don't submit the same papers, okay? Either the same paper to different journals at the same time. That is very, very unethical. And nowadays, the editor can know about that, can blacklist you. But on the other hand, don't submit too many papers by the same author to the same journal. Meaning that, let's say I submit a review article to this journal A, okay? Then I have co-authors in that journal, right? In that paper, right? So my co-authors also submit a review articles to the same journal. Another of my co-authors also submit the papers. Or even I myself submit 2 papers at one time. Don't do that. This will not look good to the editors. They will think that, how can you have enough time to write so many review papers and submit at the same time? So don't do that. Okay, and selection process, okay? How do you find out the relevant review articles to studies or what, right? You can go to the journal webpage. Some of the journal, they will list out, what are the hot topics? What are the top 25 papers? You can go and study so that from there, you will know, what is the hot topics now? Okay, anything that I can write a review articles based on these hot topics. Okay. Okay, like you can go to Science Direct, find out the top 25, browse the top 25 journals. Okay, right. Let's say you can just go to the web page of the journal itself. Let's say Applied Energy. They will show you the top 25 hottest articles. Now, then you can look at that and judge whether you can write a review articles based on these hot topics. Okay, right. And another thing is you can go to this journal finder to find out, because I said before that it is important that you have identified the journal that you want to submit your review articles even before you write your review articles. So how to find out the review, the journal that is relevant to your topics or to your research? So you can just go to Journal Finder, just Google Journal Finder, type out, let's say, microwave pyrolysis. I work a lot on microwave, and I think most of my colleagues, my friends know I work on microwave. Okay, so I type microwave pyrolysis, I put my abstract a little bit on this. Okay, you insert, you search, it will come out a page or maybe several pages showing the journals that match the content or the title of your papers. Now, let's say one of the Journal of Cleaner Productions. That is also a journal that I regularly submit my paper. So you can look at this. Okay, impact factor 7.246. It's now 9 point something. This is important. Acceptance rates 23%. Not too bad. Out of the 10 papers submitted, they will accept two papers. Oh, this is very important. Time to first decision. From you submitting your papers, if it goes to the review, and then you will get your revision, your decision by the editors within 5 weeks. So that's good. It's quite fast actually. And time to publication, the soonest they can accept your paper and publish your paper is 3 weeks. So I would say this is a journal that we can consider. Okay, and you can also look at other journals and judge yourself. You can also go to Springer Nature, and they also have a similar journal finder webpage. And you can put your title, let's say you work on microalgae, and put inside, and then text. You don't need to write a long text. You just write some keywords inside, and then click search. Okay. Then you find then it will show these kind of things. Again, it will show out a list of the journals that you can try. It also shows the impact factor, time to first decision, and acceptance rate. So this will help you to judge whether you want to target this journal for your review papers. Okay, now it will show different types of journals, the impact factors, the decision. Also, we will consider all this before we identify this is the journal that we will send our review articles to. Okay, then how to submit? So some journals, they only accept papers by invitation. That means you have to be invited by the editors before you can submit your review articles. Okay, so in this case, you cannot just submit, or you have written a review articles, you submit to that journal, you will get rejected because you are not invited. So in this case, you may have to send an email to the editors first, the editors of the journal, saying that, I have these review articles. Do you think it is good to be considered by this by your journal? Then if the editors say yes, then he will send you an invitation email. Then only you can submit. You need to have that proof of invitations. Okay. And some journal, they only allow submission of only review papers. Okay, you need to know, like nowadays, many of the high impact journals like Chem Society Review, Chemical Reviews, Progress in Energy and Combustion Science, they only accept review articles. So another angle to see from here is you write review articles, you have more chances to target high impact journals, because high impact journals, most of the high impact journals, they only accept review articles. Okay, but some journals, of course, they accept both original research articles and review articles. And also for some journals, especially high impact journals, not only they will look at the content of your review articles, they will also look at your CV. They want to know the researchers who read or who write the articles, whether they are experts in their field, in the topics of the review articles that they are writing. So they will want to look at your CV. So by this, I mean that you will have to prepare the CV as well, your CV as well, the CV of your co-author as well, in case the journal requires them. Okay, and yes, when you submit the journal, you can choose article type. Here is where you can click review articles, then you submit. So make sure you click the right article type for submitting your review articles. Okay, right. Now we talk about the challenge, the last part. Okay. When we are writing papers, we are doing our research, writing papers, whether it's a review articles or whether it's research articles, we always need to be firm. Meaning be firm is be confident, patient, and what is most important is never give up. Even you are rejected, but you can always improve your papers and submit to other journal. You have to you have to keep on going until you get that paper published, because you need to know that that review paper is not just something that you write in 1 hour or 2 hours. It's a joint effort by all the authors involved. So one of the things that will satisfy everyone is to make sure that that paper is published in the end. So need to be firm. Okay. So why I say that, because I personally sometimes I also feel, I mean disheartened. Okay, I want to give up. Why our papers have, this paper has always been rejected, and then should we just let it go? No, I always remind my students to never give up, to keep on submitting the same review papers until it is published. Okay. And yes, we do have experience of submitting many times and rejected many times, but there are cases where I submit to this journal is rejected, my review papers, but in the end, after a few attempts, I found out that my review papers, got accepted by a journal with the highest impact factors, because of several rounds of rejections. Because we have constantly improving the papers, so in the end, we have the what they call it, the rezeki. So because we have improved the papers a lot, the review paper a lot, so in the end, it is accepted by high impact journals. Okay, and yes, the comments from the editors and reviewers, don't take it personal. Some of the comments are really challenging. I've received I can share with experience with you, our review papers submitted to that impact factor 29, progress in energy and combustion science. We get nearly 150 comments from the revision process. 150 comments from, I can't remember, like 8 to 10 reviewers. 150 comments. So imagine the time and the efforts that we have to spend in answering those comments. But we do that. Okay, that's also the process of learning. Okay, so there could be challenging comments, but you just need to know that you try your best to answer them. If some of the comments you don't agree, you just refute them with good justifications. Okay, and always identify alternatives. So like I said, when for every review papers that we want to submit, we will have already identified journal A, B, C that we want to try. So always have alternatives, okay? So that when, let's say, you don't have a luck in publishing in journal A, then you already know what is the next journal that you want to submit. And lack of expertise. Yes, of course, initially, I'm sure a lot of even me initially, we really don't know how to write review articles. It's very difficult. To me, it's not difficult. You just need to start your engine. Yes, if you find it difficult to start on your own, invite others to work together. Invite those with experience in writing review articles so they can guide you, and together you can write out the review articles and publish them. That's very satisfying. Okay, and yes, regular and continuous support and commitments between students and supervisors. So by this, I mean that students should not always rely on their supervisors to help, to always improve their papers, revise their papers. And by this, I mean that supervisors should not rely only to students to write out the papers. There has to be a continual communications and improvements, rewriting and improving the papers together. This is a teamwork thing. Okay, and so my key message would be is teamwork, collaborations on reviewing, editing, rewriting, improvement by all the co-authors involved will help to really improve your writing skills, content, and the depth of the manuscript. And in the end, it will help you to get your paper accepted, your review paper accepted by journal with good impact, in high impact journals. Yeah, I think that's all I would like to share. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope they are useful for all of you. Feel free to WhatsApp me, email me, contact me if you have any further questions on this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. There's no 2 hours non-stop. Oh my God, that's very comprehensive.
I try my best.
Informative, Prof. Okay, there's
Feel
a
free
one
to ask any
question.
question. I'm okay.
Okay. Let me read one question from the chat box, Prof. Do you think current students have the capability to do synthesizing? There's only one question there.
There's
Synthesizing.
synthesizing.
Yeah, students
Yes,
have the capability.
under the guidance by supervisor. Don't let the student do it themselves. They are not capable to do that. They have to do it together with their supervisor, provided that the supervisor also needs to know how to synthesize. If the supervisor doesn't know, we just have to admit it. Then we learn from those that know how to do synthesizing. Sorry for being honest. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Thank you for answering the questions. So maybe one question from the floor, from the participants.
Yeah, if any of you would like to know.
One question before we end the sessions. Directly talk to Prof.
Hi, Prof.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Dr. Maiza from Faculty of Science and Marine Environment. Kawan Dr.
Maiza,
Okay, sorry, I cannot turn on the video. But my question is it possible that when we prepare a review paper, that we also include some descriptive data? It's pretty much a simple data that we, for example, if I want to do a review paper on the carbon, on the percentage of carbon and nitrogen in in marine environment and so on, and then I do have some data that descriptive data, my own data, so I wanted to include in that review paper. Is it possible? Have you done this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maiza. So you mean the descriptive data, has it been published or not published yet?
Has not been published. It's somewhat it's basically data yang lebih-lebih yang we do have that, and then it is useful in some section of that review paper. So can we provide that as part of the descriptive of the like kita macam Prof buat, you do reanalyze the data and then you turn it into a table or a graph. So what if we, from our own data that hasn't been published, so we include in that review paper as part of the discussion and review process of that paper?
Okay, thank you. I would say yes, but it cannot be the main focus of the, let's say you have a table figure, you have a descriptive data. It cannot be the main part of that table and figure, if you understand what I mean. It can be supportive. Okay, but it cannot be the main part of your table.
Thank you, Prof. So I mean, the message is also the idea is also to provide as a supportive data. It's not a main data, but to support our argument in that paper and so on. So that's possible.
Yes,
Yes,
you can, but you need to mention that it is unpublished data.
Yep.
Okay,
all right.
You have to be honest, saying that, oh, we do have this description data, and then you put in a bracket saying that unpublished data, but just to give additional support with respect to this. It's okay.
Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome.
Okay, Prof, is it possible you to answer one question from the chat box? One question. Actually, there are two questions.
Answer all the questions.
Actually, there are two questions, but we see the times. Okay, Prof, I read this question. Please share your experience on submitting papers to few journals at the same time, killing few birds with one stone.
Submitting papers to few journals, killing few birds with one stone. Okay, in my experience, no, I mean, I have to clarify that we are preparing, we can prepare several papers, let's say 3 to 4 papers at one time, but each of the papers will be submitting to different journals. We don't submit same papers that we have been working on this and then kita boleh target journal A, B, C, D, E. No. Each paper will already have identified ABC journal, paper B, ABC journal, but of course we can have do it at the same time. Submitting papers to the different journal at the same time, yeah, it do happens for us, but that is only provided that we are submitting different papers to the same journal. We don't submit same papers or several papers to one journal at the same time. We can submit one paper to journal A, one paper to journal B, one paper to journal C at the same time. If I answer the question, if I don't answer correctly, voice message me. You can ask me again so that I can clarify further. Thank you. And another question, is it?
Yeah, one question. Do you get FYP students to involve? What is the first
Oh,
step?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. I always encourage, collaborations among my students. So, like I said just now, I have normally, let's say, when we have let's say, normally I will be allocated 5 to 6 final year students per batch, right? So at the beginning stage, we will already teach them what is a review article first, okay, and then give some experience, show them some review articles to read, and then I will have some of my masters and postgraduate students, postdoc, even myself, to guide them. Then we will involve the FYP students in writing our existing review articles. He or she will write one. Each student will write, I think maybe just one section of that review articles. That the aim is to train him to write, to improve his or her writing skill. Okay, and then of course I have to admit that those students, they don't have experience. So what? Somebody asked or say something? I didn't hear.
No problem. Continue, Prof.
Okay, so I mean, they are very inexperienced, but some of them are good writers. So don't underestimate the skills of these FYP students. Some of their English are very good, so they can write, but they need to be guided in writing proper academic English, especially review papers. They can write, but they, like what Suhaiti said just now, they may not know how to synthesize. So the synthesized part is our role to guide them. Then together we guide them. Then we submit paper together. Like I've shown some papers just now that we have published with our FYP students, and we have published in good journals before. Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Now we come to the end of the session.
Prof Lam.
Okay, there's a question from
Prof Lam.
Prof Din.
Yeah.
Prof Dato Din.
Dato, yes. How are you?
Very good direction from you. Anyway, just referring to my question just now, actually.
Yeah.
Ethically, yeah. I'm talking about ethical now. Is it okay? I mean, I've done it before. Submitting one paper to few journal, the same paper, but those who are accepted, then I choose to that journal. What do you think of that?
My advice to you, Dato, is don't do it now, because now is a different role. It can be easily traced by the editors. Okay, let me share example. Let's say now you submit the same paper to several journals belong to Elsevier. Elsevier.
Okay, all right.
So if I happen to be one of the editors of this journal that you have submitted the paper, if you submit that paper to another journal, it shows up in my system.
Oh, I see. Because now system is canggih,
then we will check the two papers. If the similarity is really high, the consequences will be, one is either you will be blacklisted for this journal forever, or you will be blacklisted for submitting papers to Elsevier journal. So don't do that. I would say don't.
Maybe Prof Lam, before it was not that so systematic. So I submitted one paper to few journal, they could not detect the same paper at a different journal. So maybe now it's a bit risky to do it. Because
now we are in a big data world, so don't do that.
Okay, I got you. I got what you said, what you meant.
Thank you, Dato.
Thank you, Prof.
We have one more question from Vicky, is it?
Hello, Prof.
How do you improve a review paper for high impact journals? Okay, what is one of the most important criteria editor of this? Okay, yeah, thank you for the questions, Vicky. how do you improve a review paper for high impact journals? Okay, improve. So improve can be done by many rounds of revisions, even before submitting that paper to the journal. Okay, when we say many rounds of revisions, my experience of those high impact journals, our revisions can go up to at least 15 times. So we always have the adjust the title of that, sorry, the file name of the review articles. It can go to version 15, and in some cases version 35, 40. Many rounds of revisions by all the co-authors involved. So that's one thing that we have been doing that. Okay, and secondly, we have also sent papers to the expert in that field to ask them to take a look, and if they can advise and comment something. It's like we try to identify and email to some experts as an informal reviewer first, and he will give some inputs. And you know, these kind of experts, when they look at your paper, they know, this is not good, that is not good, this you need to improve, that you need to improve. And based on that comments, we will improve our paper. That's another step that we are doing. And okay, what is the one most important criteria editor that the high impact journals look for? Novelty. Okay, novelty. What is new? It has to be new. Okay, new meaning that nobody has reported that before. Nobody has written that review before. Novelty and relevant. Novelty, I would say. Yeah. That's all. Any more
there's
questions?
a question from participants. But
Question
yeah,
from
actually there's a voice over from the participants, but there's no. Oh, should we stop now, Prof?
Hello.
So, okay. So from
yes,
Mr. Donald.
Donald,
Good
yeah.
day. You mentioned something about including a table of content and review.
Yeah.
And look some of these journals. You see this structure, you wouldn't find anything like a table of content. So in the
Yeah.
case you want to include a table of content, where specifically should it be? That's my question.
Oh, your question is where the table of content, where should you put your table of content? Is it?
Considering that some of this or most of these journals don't structure journals to contain a table of content. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so my strategy is I always, when we submit papers or when we write papers, right, rather than we are sitting in the angle or from the perspective of an author, we also need to put ourselves in the shoe of the editors and the reviewers. So we found it useful, and it helps the editors and reviewers when we have this table of content inserting into our manuscript. Even if the manuscript and if the guide for authors, if the journal doesn't require us to put in. So we normally put the table of content after. So in your paper, you have title, you have abstract, and after that you will have keywords, and after that you will have introductions, right? We put the table before the introductions. Yes, even the journal doesn't require that, but we put it there just to help the editors and the reviewer to see the overall structures. Yes, when the paper is actually accepted and then they didn't ask, or they will ask us to remove the table of content, that is fine. We will remove at that time. But the key is to assist the editor and the reviewer. If you understand what I mean, if I answer your questions, we always put that. Right, thank you. Any more questions?
There are one question, yeah, from Dr. Nurul Huda.
Dr. Nurul Huda.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, nowadays, okay, let me just share some tips here. Normally, for us, for my papers, for the papers by my research team, we don't publish in journals that charge APC. Like we normally publish in Elsevier journals and Taylor and Francis that do not charge. Okay, so it's normally free of charge. Okay, but there are some journals, even nowadays, some Elsevier journals, they will charge APC, right? Okay, let me just share some tips with you. Malaysia, our universities, or I think most of the university in Malaysia, they don't have subsidy. I mean, some they have, okay, but especially the expensive one, we don't have that much subsidy for this. But there are countries, there are universities in overseas that their universities covers the APC. That means like you can invite authors in that universities. Like for example, I've been working a lot with Danish researchers, and that Danish researchers is from universities in Denmark, and that universities actually covers the open access fees for all the Elsevier journals, meaning it's being paid by the university or by the country, I'm not sure. So by having that Danish researcher as a co-author in my papers, if my paper wants to go for open access, which I have to pay for the open access fees, or if my paper is being charged for the APC, then in a way they will cover. My Danish researcher will cover because it's already paid by by his universities or by his country. So that is one of the way. Okay, right. And I tend to not publish in a journal that promise me that if you pay an APC, then you will get a quick process, review process and publications. Normally, I will find those journals, not convincing to me. So I tend to avoid that. If you go to my list of publications, it is undeniable that I have 1 or 2 papers published in those publishers that charge expensive APC, like let's say MDPI, is one of that. Frontiers is one of them. Okay, but in my cases, I ask for discount. Remember that you can always get discounts from these publishers. Once your paper is accepted, send email to them saying that, sorry, my institutions, I don't think my institutions cover the APC. Can we get discounts? For Frontiers, they will consider giving you discounts from 30% up to 80%. You can get discounts because we always ask for discount. That's one thing for Frontiers. MDPI, they sometimes give discount if you review paper for them. So like I said, it's good that you be a reviewer for the journals. Sometimes by being a reviewer for MDPI journals, they can give discounts to you. Okay, so always ask for discount. And also in some cases, in my case, I was invited to submit papers to those journals with free of charge APC. So that's what happens to me. If that answers to your questions, Dr. Nuruda, thank you.
Okay, Prof. Thank you for answering all the questions. Now we come to the end of our programs. I would like to say thanks again to Prof for the informative and very comprehensive and very great presentation today. And then for the participants today, thank you very much for attending this program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. With this, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Prof. Thank you.